All right. Welcome to everyone out there on the live streams. Welcome to Clean Start's Perspectives. I'm Thomas Hall. And we've got a good discussion today, but first I want to highlight and thank the people who support us here at Clean Start: SMUD, Blue Tech Valley, River City Bank, and the California Mobility Center. All of them are accelerating clean tech in the greater Sacramento area and across the state. So I reach out to them if you have clean tech ideas. And I also want to make sure that I thank the people who have contributed to us regularly here at Clean Start. You help validate what we do, and you help keep us going. Thank you very much for that. And if you have an idea, make sure that you reach out to us and connect with me at thomas@cleanstart.org. And you can find my calendar lead there. If you have a clean tech idea, let's come and talk. Also, some upcoming events that we have. We have our discussion on solar with Kevin Logue on the 21st, the discussion with Brainbox AI on the 7th of March, and also our clean tech meetup on March 23rd. It'll be in person, so make sure that you save the date. Additional community resources that are out there that I highly recommend people go and check out is Cal Seeds coming. That's seed money for early stage companies. They have an information session on the 15th. The NorCal Entrepreneurship Hub, the Big Bang competition at UC Davis. The NorCal Entrepreneurship Hub is a great spot where you can find resources in Northern California for entrepreneurs. And if you want to get involved in these and more of our events, make sure to check out our calendar at cleanstart.org/events. Now today, I'd like to welcome Port Labs. We have two of Sal's compatriots here from Port Labs, Kyle and Matthew, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. All right.
Thanks, Thomas. Happy to be here, everybody. My name is Matthew Kelly. I'm the community manager here at Port Labs. We're an innovation hub in downtown Oakland with multiple locations across the street from each other. We've been around for 3 years now, and we're starting to really grow this sort of startup ecosystem, as we like to call it down here, where companies can thrive creating their products, creating prototypes, and starting a longer journey from these grounds. So to give you an idea of our space here, we moved into a new building over the summer, took on 22,000 square feet of space here with plenty of office space, flex space, and shared prototyping studio space in our original building. We have accelerators, we have investors, we have companies, and we have other things in the ecosystem like designers, manufacturers, experts in a bunch of different fields, all the sort of things that companies need to grow themselves. We have it under our roof here.
So just kind of an initial question. So a company has, they have an idea, they got to look for space. What's kind of, I guess, would be their first interaction with Port Labs? They come to Port Labs and they're say like, I have a EV charging startup.
Mm-hmm.
I need some space to get, out of my house, or maybe my kids, or, my dog, or something that annoys me is, and I need help with, the business end of it and some on the manufacturing. And what kind of support could they expect?
Yeah, totally. And, we can get into more and more of the details as we go on, Thomas, but just to give you an idea, companies walk in our door here, and when they're looking for space, immediately my first questions are, try to tell me exactly what you need, because we have the flexibility and the team to make it happen exactly how they need it. We tailor deals and space configurations pretty much custom for every client. People developing specific products like EV and batteries often need very special power considerations. We have clients who have already asked for those kind of things. And we're willing to outfit any kind of space exactly how they need. So it's all about figuring out exactly what a company needs, and then we cater to it.
Go on,
yeah, if I could jump in here. Hey, everybody. My name's Kyle Balaton. I run the I kind of bring in some of the manufacturing, design, engineering expertise. I run the coaching program we have here, which is partly sponsored by the California SBDC. So we have a team of coaches to kind of bring in the expertise and kind of cross-pollination of ideas. throughout the startups that join our community. I just wanted to say kudos to Matt. Well said in terms of our kind of general facility services. Yeah, the big thing is the space is very flexible. So companies come in, maybe a team of 1 to 5, and given that the space isn't constrained by your standard office cubicle or office footprint, we can basically expand spaces very easily. So it's just kind of a nice, like, oh hey, we just had a company expand to 3 offices without telling us. There's like a week before, they're like, hey, can we get a couple more? And we're like, yeah, sure. So it's just a nice, we've put ourselves in a good position to have that flexibility.
So is there like little fiefdoms growing? People trying to work their way to the coffee machine?
Yeah, in the works for sure. With that flexibility, really, it's not just about flex space, but it's about how companies might need a little bit of office space, a little bit of flex space, and then have teams co-working. Just having sort of all those different levels means that teams can sort of like operate exactly how they want is the other thing, because a lot of people do have like plenty of remote workers who are coming into town, intermittently, and then they'll just, do the co-working when they're here, and the company will have like a main office, something like that. But then there's tons of the, workshop space for people to just set up and work exactly how they want physically too. Huge amount of flexibility.
So on your website or something, do you have a picture of the facilities, floor plan or anything like that people can get a impression of?
Yeah, for sure. Let me pull up my
feed
here.
And actually what we'll do is after this, we'll send your team our video. And if you wanted to cut it in at some point while Matt was explaining that, we can absolutely do that.
No, that's totally cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I had some questions on. So Kyle, could you kind of explain, I guess, the coaching opportunities that companies could get?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the beautiful thing about being kind of a flexible space is being in the center of Oakland and being so close to a BART. We're basically directly connected to San Francisco. So what we've done is we've set up some regular meetups happening at least monthly, happy hours, keynote speaker driven topics where we basically throw a meetup on there, get the community, founders, investors, engineers, entrepreneurs, just kind of in a space to basically connect and network and share ideas. That's a key. And then go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, what are some of the, I guess, networking events or speakers that you've had in recently?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we just had a recent networking event 2 weeks ago. It was a hardware happy hour. We had one of our members, Salient Energy, show off some of their battery technology that they're working on. And it was kind of a good kickoff. So we use that to kick off discussions, give people a platform to ask more questions, and just give a pillar to talk to. And then what we then do is we do community announcements. So we give everyone 30 seconds to a minute to post who they are, what they're doing, what they need, and then you kind of have that. People get about an hour and a half to chit chat.
So our companies, probably nobody's going to relocate down to the harbor, but you do a lot of stuff available virtually. So can you talk a little bit about what your setup is to help companies virtually?
Oh yeah. So our network of coaches are pretty much more or less available exclusively remotely, which is a nice plus. So we have people from all over who just want to be a part of what we're doing, to join the SBDC affiliate program, and then they're linked in, and our members can book time with them. We kind of have we're not trying to be a full accelerator, but we have at least a tiered system of, we'll figure out what their needs, we'll figure out their baseline, and then we kind of pick coaches that best could fit their needs, and then we swap often to make sure everybody gets a decent, well-rounded analysis.
Are there some examples of, I guess, success stories or companies that have been able to utilize your services and grow? And I guess kind of sounds almost like the goal of a Port Labs would be, help someone grow so they don't need you anymore.
Yes, it is.
It's always a big victory and you know, a testament to kind of what you do, but do you have any examples or stories about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Salient's kind of a fun one because
Yeah.
they came in. It's one of the reasons why we featured them earlier this last month, is because they came in, two engineers from Canada, and just started. They had a small flex space in our product lab, which is here on the second floor in this building, and just kept maturing the technology, and eventually they liked the facility, they liked the location, and so now their team is where are we at now, Matt?
I think we're at like 6 or 7 now, and that's going to double in the next 3 to 4 months. So we've already seen them double once. They're going to double again. And that's pushing on the capacity we have. And then, yes, as you said, like exits are a very important metric for us. We're, you know, in communication and friends with like similar spaces to us that are sort of the next scale up. And we love to pass people on to them as they sort of like outgrow us. And I think Salient's definitely on the path towards that. They're going to take up as much space in our building as they can before they get there, but we're happy to see that. They're really interesting guys working on zinc ion technology batteries, taking the lithium out of it. And yeah, that's the talk they did at the meetup a couple of weeks ago was really inspiring. Just to hear sort of like the journey of it. We had them focus just on telling us like the story of that product and how it sort of came to be in Newfoundland, Canada, and slowly grew into this sort of multinational company that's really driving a really interesting piece of technology.
And I can dive onto that, Matthew, and also highlight we have another company. It's ICA, which is an accelerator for underserved communities, and they've been growing insanely fast this past year. They're going to take up almost a third of our capacity in the building, just growing. And so Oakland is such a perfect spot for them to meet with clients and spread the message. And the nice thing about the space is you have the basement level, we call it. It's like your garage, you know, so folks can get in there, get loud, do their thing, and then you come up to the ground floor level, which is just well lit, very nice. It kind of gives people some change of environments, to say the least. You'll see in the video, our space is quite unique.
We had a great company working on the EV tractor trailer technology that was really interesting, that just used us very early on when they were working on software and theoretical, and then stayed with us all the way until they had to start working on an actual truck. And that's where they moved up to a whole warehouse size, because they need, you know, space to have a full truck in there. And then, you know, in terms of the coaching, you know, we've got plenty of success stories there. One that jumps to mind is Anna Marion. You know, we just helped her lead a very successful Kickstarter campaign for her consumer product. It's a foldable jewelry product that is really strong design and packaging. So there's really a wide range of companies that we work with. It's not all just, you know, technologies. It's also just great consumer products and everything in between.
So what was the name of that group that's working with disadvantaged communities? It was like IC something or other?
ICA Fund.
Yeah. I was hoping you could kind of actually expand on that, I guess, the kind of marketing and kind of Kickstarter portion of it. Because there's a fair amount of kind of consumer level technology, battery kind of companies out there that they go and, you know, they first imagine that, you know, crowdfunding, whether it's equity or pre-sales, is some, you know, you only hear the great success stories or the success stories that actually never had a product that could actually work. What's some of this kind of support you do to help companies kind of, I guess, bring it to market, or what do you help them kind of understand or provide them with resources to be able to do something like that?
Absolutely. Yeah. So everybody has their kind of accelerator curriculum, I think, but really for us, we just establish the baseline. We figure out where are the knowledge gaps, if any, in the entrepreneur's path and plan. And based on our kind of collective observations amongst all our team of coaches and everybody taking a look at the strategy, we just go, hey, I think we may want to look in this direction. And really the network, I think, is a big one, because it's it's relatively easy for us to look into our network and go, you'd be a great, this person would be a great connection for you. Specifically with Anna, you know, she actually had she is amazing. Like, she had an amazing social media content calendar setup, but you know, just the idea of offloading that to someone else was kind of a like an initial struggle. Like, I've set all this up, and I'm going to basically hand over the controls to someone else to do these regular posts. And it's like, yes, because you need time to focus on these manufacturing specs that you're dealing with your supplier. So things like that, just to have another pair of eyes and be able to talk it through, has been immensely helpful. But we do have like structured workshops. And I'll note that, you know, Anna actually appreciated what we do so much. She's actually signed on as a coach, and she'll actually be doing a Kickstarter workshop in a couple weeks here. So yeah, so it's kind of a fun turnaround.
Yeah, excited to hear her share her experience there. I think it was just such a good one for her. That's like, let's turn this into a story we can share.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure, you know, we would like to spread that when you get the story ready, because that sounds like a good one.
Yeah.
So what's your model? Do you have membership fees? I mean, obviously people that are there physically, you're renting them space, but for people who are virtual, how do you connect with them?
It's really in two parts, Gary. I mean, there is the physical side where we sell memberships, we rent offices on monthly rents, and you know, 6 to 12 month leases and all that. But the coaching, that's all just sponsored by the state, by the Small Business Development Center of California. So that's sort of like a separate arm of the business, and that's just, you know, coaches billing the state essentially, and it truly is no cost for the entrepreneurs and small businesses.
Great.
You can find, I think, a lot of these, I was looking at your portlabs.co/events, your events calendar, right? And one thing I saw in there earlier, I think there was a capital class on planning capital. So that's always, you know, the first thing you know, an entrepreneur wants is like, I have an idea. I already know, of course, they always know everyone's going to buy it, but they're like, how do I, you know, I now need money, which there's a lot of pitfalls in that. So when it comes, I guess, to the planning capital class, is what support or what could some people expect to learn from it?
Yeah, that's actually one of our most popular workshops. One of the ones we put on the most. Came to mind earlier when you were talking about the kind of support we give people, and people really enjoy the interaction that they get out of that. You know, most of we have a number of coaches, but a handful of them all sort of like partially specialize in that aspect. So, you know, Kyle, Andrew, Jonathan, they're all you know, very knowledgeable speakers in terms of capital fundraising and all that. But what you can expect from that is, you know, it's going to be a general overview of the different kind of capital sources that you can seek, whether that's grants, angel investment, finding venture capital, personal investments, finding government money, all the above, and then just how to sort of like organize that with an expense sheet. Participants will actually do an expense sheet with the other people in the class. There's a huge amount of interaction between the participants and the teacher. And those events we've just started kind of doing in hybrid, but we've been doing those remote for a while now, and people seem to get a lot out of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and really, you know, I think one of the things we try to do is just, you know, coming from our engineering background and learning the business and the funding side of it later, you realize how everything's just a complex problem that needs to be simplified to kind of be managed. So when we saw the capital needs of our network, we said, well, okay, realistically, I'm not going to hit you with a real projected forecast sheet. You know, with like, let's say you're going to an IPO, like, no, that's later. Right now, what we need is a simple Excel sheet that's very clear, that has a single graph of what we think your business is going to look like in a year, assuming it had the fuel and the capital to do that. So we kind of just distill everything down to get to, we really are trying to identify what are the big things, like what is the general direction. We don't even care if we love it if it exceeds expectations, but it's just a general direction to start with. And then the key thing we pick is, once we get more data, can we change direction, or do we continue on the path? And that's just kind of the main the main thing. So set a general plan, try some stuff. How's it looking? Continue on the path, and just kind of, and that's one of the things that John Salzman helps the team with, is just give them that financial understanding, just enough to be dangerous, and then, get more data, and eventually, it's kind of higher quality problems, right? Like if you do get funding, yeah.
I like that the approach a lot. One thing you also mentioned there was grants as a source of funding, which going after a grant is very different than going after private capital. And recently, on our YouTube, you can go find our discussions about the IRA and with open grants and other grant agencies, and CalSeed, which is coming up soon, a great opportunity for early stage startups. But one thing that's constantly brought up around the grant funding is the need for quality partnerships, and I guess trusting partnerships. And with the billions of dollars coming down, that's going to be incredibly important. And you had mentioned being in Oakland, an accelerator for the community. I was hoping that maybe you could talk a little bit on grants and partnerships.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, because we're kind of trying to be we're kind of a generalist company in terms of how we help people. It's always amazing the kind of stones we kind of uncover with companies, because we're kind of going on the journey with them a little bit. Like, we don't know it, we don't have all the answers. We're just kind of setting a direction, and then like, hey, what did you find? And then we kind of just bring that back into the collective community if it's something that serves more people. So really, it's when it comes to grants and what's actually happening out there, we're just slowly building our directory of, oh, hey, we learned about this new pathway for companies. That's fantastic. Let's put it here. And then, similar to what your team does, it's like, then you bucket all of those into a specific industry or a specific purpose. And now people have a resource that they can draw on, at least to get started and grow. So really, it really is company by company. As they come on, we kind of have to, it's like, oh, you're in food tech. Okay, interesting. This is a new thing for us. Let's see what we uncover, and we make sure we don't try to be the experts on everything. So if we don't know the answer, we absolutely point them in the direction of someone who does when it comes to where to find funds.
Well, that's interesting, because a company in our cluster, it's now called grants.io, started as a clean tech company called Carbon Blue.
Open grants.io.
Which was to help people calculate their carbon footprint and what they could do to reduce it. But now it's become this big database management company, but it's all about searchable database on grants and awards. You may be connected with them because they're trying to establish a big reach. But that's been very helpful to people, just, to have some organized way of putting in some keywords and seeing what's out there, particularly with all the new federal money that's coming on the scene. So have you worked with those guys? Grants.io, Sadal Turbovsky?
Open grants.io.
Open grants. Sorry.
No, this is great. So that's one I immediately jotted down. And what you said, was like, oh, cool. Another resource. Fantastic. Yeah. So we're definitely gonna check that out and offer it to our members as well.
Yeah, I said it wrong. Opengrants.io. So
what we have been, I mean, it's very low key. We don't claim to have this, but we've been playing with ChatGPT, writing grant applications just for.
Well, no, that's interesting.
Why
that's
not?
Interesting.
Yeah, and in terms of partnerships, that's sort of Sal's specialty. Being someone who's worked with local government for so many years here in Oakland as a small business owner. And his connections are just really deep, and we have great friendships over at the East Bay Economic Development Alliance, Oakland City Government, institutions around here such as Berkeley, and then a whole number of other accelerators and funds here are sort of also in conversation with us, and also sort of like our peers in the area too, like Circuit Launch, Hardware Massive. Silicon Valley in your pocket, all these guys we're sort of in conversation with at all times, because the goal is really to help each other. There's so many companies that we want to see succeed, that it's about connecting the right people, and they're doing the same thing.
Oh yeah, we met Sal and immediately recognized him. He's a node in the network. So as the movie said, you had us at hello.
That's right. That's right. He is
So-
a bringer together of people for sure.
Yeah, no, he's a powerhouse. He's unstoppable. So his background was as a small businessman, you said, and then working in economic development, community development. How about your background and Kyle's? Where did you come from?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, my background is varied as well. Primarily coming actually from art and design, fabrication, production backgrounds. Been making things with my hands all my life. I've worked in a number of spaces like this that are sort of like prototyping shops and creative spaces for folks. So I kind of come from like a facilities background, and then also from just as someone who's worked in small business for the past 10, 15 years with a number of different crews, developing all sorts of different products, whether that's digital or just purely physical, custom one-off type things. So I bring a lot of different things to the table, but it has to do most of with making this a really strong space for people to do their thing.
Great.
Yeah, and as far as my background, yeah, so my background is primarily a mechanical engineer. Started in med device industry very early on up in Northern California, Santa Rosa area, and really grew a fundamental understanding there because that startup basically let us do anything under the sun, and that was kind of the original catalyst to me being a part of the startup community, which I then stuck with for the last 12 years. So I've been I've been a part of a number of startups. I started a consulting business about 6 years ago. So that's really been like a hockey stick level of exposure in terms of all the different problems startup face. That kind of a lot of the general similar problems, like eerily similar sometimes. You're just like, oh wow, here we go again. So it's been a great exposure to that. And then now that we're doing the coaching program since early 2021, that's been just another huge gap in the amount of exposure of companies that we see. And it just feels so good to give just a little nugget sometimes, just like, hey, did you know? And then they're like, no. And that's like that stuff. I mean, that really is you can't measure that value, but like that's the kind of stuff that's like, you would have been spinning your wheels for weeks. That would have butterfly effect, led to XYZ. And so, that's why I do it. It's very enjoyable to just see how much having a solid network of individuals and being willing to be a little more open about what you're doing and where your faults and advantages are, so that you can really just plug into this system, this network of people trying to just get it done.
So I have to know, you said this eerily similar problems. What is a piece of advice you would give to people who could avoid those eerily similar problems?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all know, especially now, like on a larger scale, we kind of live in a leadership vacuum, and so I think really recognizing your leaders within your team and pushing them to be the leader that you kind of see in them is a big thing. Trying to, and the reason why I say that is it's when companies hit that first success, they get that big seed round or maybe even that early Series A. And they just think in their head count. That's the only thing they think. Head count. I gotta triple my staff. I gotta do all this stuff. And sometimes that's done without thinking about how you got there and really empowering the individuals that, because really what you want to do is give the individuals that got you there a big lever to pull. And so what I would say in terms of that catalyst is just, find the leaders in your organization that are creating the change and give them the tools to multiply that effectively. And that'll be the kind of growth that you want to see instead of just head count.
Well, I know that you don't specialize in clean tech, which is sort of our home base, but that's good because it's bringing in other perspectives, other ideas. So I think you have a lot to offer, and we look forward to staying connected with you and growing with you, even though most of that connection may be virtual for us. We've got
Absolutely.
a lot of people interested. And I will say, Kyle, with your background in medical technologies, there's a huge medical device innovation thing centered around UC Davis Med Center. That you know, I'll try to find the right contact for you, but that's probably a big growth area up here.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you, yeah.
Likewise, Gary, we're really looking forward to staying in touch with all you. And I would like to say, you know, of course, virtual is fine, but you know, if any of the Clean Start companies are ever in Oakland here and need some place to work for the day, I just want to extend an invitation for them to absolutely drop by whenever they want and take up a desk. If they're here in the area, it's where we'd love to have you. So please keep in touch.
Yeah, how can people reach out to you guys and connect with you?
You can connect with me at matthew@portlabs.co or just hit us up on our website. There should be a button there to get in contact with us, and that'll go straight to me. I've also just included a link in the chat that has our sort of like grand tour video of the whole space, and that should give you a good idea of what we've got going here.
All right.
And we also have that that Kickstarter. I posted that link as well. We post to Eventbrite often, so we have a Kickstarter fundraiser that the links in the chat as well.
Okay, and there's a lot of people that would like to talk with others that what their experience has been on Kickstarter or GoFundMe or a number of the others. That's a big topic, and I'm sure you've got some experience with that. Well, lots of opportunities here. Let's make sure they're not insurmountable.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we hope to stay in close contact with you.
Same here, Gary.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
I'll go ahead and wrap it up. I want to first thank you two for joining us today. Kyle and Matt of Port Labs. You can check them out at portlabs.io. I also thank our
that's CO. Sorry, that's CO.
portlabs.co. There we go. Okay, portlabs.co. Yeah, so sorry about that, but yeah, an additional thanks to our sponsors and our overall program sponsors. Remember, we have upcoming events on the 21st and the 7th, along with our meetup next month. And thank you everyone who's out there watching. And you can always find a wrap up of this on YouTube, LinkedIn. We're still on Twitter. I'm not doing really anything there though. And always Empower Innovation Network, a great place to find partners. It's the CEC's funded version of LinkedIn and Facebook, if you're curious. And with that, thank you very much. And